Just us right now. Okay, welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for all Ohio students, sponsored by the Ohio Association for College Admission Counseling and StriveScan. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of the many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at oacac.org. This presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at the same website, oacac.org. I'd like to now turn it over to our presenters.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here with you. Okay, I think we're good to go, but you guys all see that? Everything good? Oh, good? Okay, all right. Again, welcome everybody. My name is Mark Metzka. I'm one of the assistant directors in the admissions office at Slippery Rock. I've been working in admissions at the Rock since 2004. I did attend Slippery Rock as well. Have a degree in sport management and a minor in business. I'm actually from Youngstown, Ohio, which is primarily why I'm in charge of the out-of-state recruitment specifically in the state of Ohio. And with me today on here are two of my co-workers, Dallas and Sierra. So I'm going to have them unmute themselves here real quick and they can give you their brief introduction as well. Go ahead, Dal.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dallas Klein. I am an admissions counselor in undergraduate admissions. I'm a 2019 graduate of the Rock, where I studied sport management and had a minor in communications.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sierra Bell. I've worked at the university about 4.5 years recently, but I'm new to this department, and I'm really excited to be here. My mother just recently retired from Slippery Rock, and my sister did her master's program at the Rock as well in student affairs and higher education with college counseling.
And I'm really jealous of your mom, Sierra. All right, guys, so we're going to get started here with some information and start obviously with an overview. And most importantly for us, our goal tonight is to let you know exactly what you're getting yourself into with Slippery Rock University, and hopefully that we can share enough information and get you interested enough to want to come and see us, right? Ultimately, that's our goal, is for you to want to take a campus visit and let us show you in person what we really have to offer. But the one thing that I always try to impress upon Ohio students is that Slippery Rock is very different from what Ohio offers high school students. Being a high school or student in Ohio and a resident of Ohio my whole life, I'm very familiar with what our state has to offer in terms of higher education opportunities. But what we don't really offer is a medium-sized public university. So there are a lot of things about Slippery Rock that are different to what Ohio has to offer. And that's really the nice advantage, because we're very different and we're not all that far away. We're only about 20 miles across the border into Pennsylvania, and from the Youngstown area, it's about 45 minutes. And from Cleveland, you know, I could be to the Cleveland airport from Slippery Rock's campus in 2 hours. So we can get a big chunk of Northeast Ohio covered within that 2-hour window, which is very popular right now. So our total enrollment is a little over 8,800 students, closing in on 8,900. But our undergraduate population is the number that is very unique, 7,500. So we're right around that 7,500, between 7,600-ish. And what's even more important about that number is it's been amazingly consistent. If you looked at our enrollment number in 2010, that number was going to be within 50 students of where we are right now. So that's where we're going to stay. If 7,500 is appealing to you, you can confidently know that's where we're going to be. The class size average of 25 and student to faculty of 21:1 is kind of our way of bringing about a small school feel. So not only are we that medium size, but with more of that small school feel that allows you to make those relationships and get that individualized attention. And then another battle that we certainly fight when people hear out-of-state public is automatically, oh, it's not going to be affordable. There's going to be out-of-state tuition. It's going to be a big surcharge. Well, I will agree that you do pay more than the Pennsylvania students pay. However, when we get to talking about value and affordability, one of the advantages that Pennsylvania provides is a state system of higher education, and it really manages the in-state tuition. And because the out-of-state tuition is based off of a percentage of the in-state, it is affordable for out-of-state students. So we will talk about our out-of-state tuition reduction and how that puts us in a very affordable range for Ohio students, as it is very comparable to the tuition and fees of the Ohio public universities. So some of the characteristics, right, of public and private and all the choices that we have as we're going through this college search. Certainly, we talk about enrollment numbers, we talk about distance from home, obviously we talk about cost, but one of the things that kind of gets lost is choices of majors. And that's really important in this day and age, because we are in very much a time where college students change their major, right? It's almost become the norm. 70 to 75% of college students nationally change their major. Of those who change, they change it more than 3 times. Only 5% of high school seniors become what they say they will become. Only about 27% of folks with a bachelor's degree work in a field that is directly related to their bachelor's degree. So all of those things being considered, going to an institution that gives you the maximum amount of choice makes a whole lot of sense, right? So we're going to give you about 150 undergraduate programs, also graduate programs, and that's going to be very important. We're going to touch on that the next slide, because it's been my experience over the last 16 years that the initial reason that students become interested in Slippery Rock University for their undergrad is because of a graduate program that we offer. And we're certainly going to focus on those as well. But our majors are broken down into 4 academic colleges, the biggest being the College of Health, Engineering, and Science, followed by the College of Business, then the College of Education, which we were in the past really known for making teachers here. All of the 14 universities in the Pennsylvania state system of higher education began as normal schools and then graduated to teachers colleges, right? So College of Education has a deep, deep tradition and history in Western Pennsylvania. And then lastly, the College of Liberal Arts in terms of quantity of students. And that's something that also makes us, in my mind, very unique, because typically the mentality is public universities do not place an emphasis on the fine and performing arts. But here, music, dance, theater, art have unbelievable facilities, and a lot of emphasis is placed on those areas and growth, as you will see in a couple slides with some of our newer programs. Another thing that makes us unique to public universities and that mentality is the fact that we do not teach classes with grad students. No GAs teach, no teaching assistants teach. Every class that you take will be taught by a professor, and you will also be advised by professors from the major, right? So you have an expert faculty member as your advisor, and 92% of our faculty have PhDs or terminal degrees. So we kind of take those characteristics that you really like about what private and small private schools offer, and we kind of combine that with what we like about public universities, being choices of majors, facilities, and affordability. Okay, moving on to that the graduate programs that I mentioned. And I know it's a terrible slide to look at, and I apologize, and there's a lot of text and there's a lot of numbers, but this is the worst one of the night, right? So let's get through this one. So you see the programs down the left-hand side, the athletic training, the occupational therapy, PT, PA, those are all programs that we host here at Slippery Rock, right? They come with accelerated options. Okay, so the left side of the plus is undergrad. So you see 3+, that's accelerated. That's not traditional pace, right? 4 years of undergrad is the traditional pace. We give you the opportunity to speed up and knock off a year of undergrad. Student affairs and higher ed and pre-counseling also into our graduate programs. And then beginning on the right-hand side there with chiropractic down to the bottom are affiliated programs, or sometimes just advising tracks. For example, pre-law. We don't have a specific affiliation with a law program, or pre-vet. Those are just advising tracks, letting the academic advisor know, yes, I'm a biology major, or yes, I'm an English or a history or sport management major, but this is what my intentions are after undergrad. I want to go into this graduate program. So it's important to understand affiliated, it's important to understand accelerated, and it's also very important to understand advising tracks and the difference between all of those areas. So the main thing for our graduate programs, the programs that go into a program a grad program at Slippery Rock, Our programs are not direct admit. No undergraduate freshman, first-year student comes in with a guaranteed seat in our physical therapy or physician assistant program. They do not operate that way. You can accelerate, but you do not come in with a guaranteed seat. On the other side, the accelerated programs with LECOM do give students an opportunity for a guaranteed seat. That is LECOM's policy. They do offer guaranteed seats to high school seniors. They will interview high school seniors, and there's a nice advantage there. So you have to decide, do I want to be locked into where I will go to grad school, but be able to eliminate grad school applications, right? Grad school application costs, all of those things, with even sometimes graduate school testing, because all those things will be taken care of with a LECOM guaranteed seat. Back to our programs. We believe that every student gets an opportunity to prove themselves on a level playing field. And that level playing field is undergrad, right? So when students come in here, regardless of where they went to high school, regardless of the resources that that high school had or didn't have, they are going to have the opportunity to show and pursue that type of career. We just don't believe that a student can never come here and pursue physical therapy because their high school didn't offer enough AP classes or whatever, right? Whatever those phase one criteria that the guaranteed admit programs provide. So our program is a little bit different. Yes, it's accelerated. Yes, we take certain numbers of students into our programs from Slippery Rock and other institutions, but everybody gets a chance to prove themselves. Okay. All right. Moving on. Newer majors, newer programs. And this is something, that is very important for us. And this is all career driven, market driven, demand driven. We're not just going to throw darts out there and say, I think we'll start this major or that major. This is all based on a lot of data, a lot of discussions. Where are needs in our society? What type of majors would lead students and put them in a position to be successful? So you see the resources that are going into the BFA for the musical theater performance, and then also the corporate homeland security, right? Obviously things that are in demand in our country, and 4 new engineering programs that is very exciting. And then graduate programs as well. If you look at the need or the demand for these professions, typically anything that is a 12% growth or higher is considered very good, or what they consider a sunny outlook. You look at occupational therapy and physician assistant, you're talking about career demand into the 30s, right? 30%, 32%. We're going to need people with these specific type of occupations. Keep in mind, those folks who work in a field related to what they study, that is only undergrad, right? These are different. You have to be certified. And if you take the 3 main occupations of folks who do work in a field of what they studied, it's teachers, nurses, and engineers. So these engineering folks, right, they're going to have a chance to come out with a degree in petroleum and natural gas engineering, and they're going to make a very, very favorable starting salary with a 4-year degree. So that is why we decided to invest in these programs and invest in the facilities and have our students coming out here very, very prepared because of the brand new, up-to-date, state-of-the-art facilities that we're able to provide. Okay, so we're going to continue to add for our students, but also keeping in with that liberal studies curriculum, right? That liberal studies, that liberal arts philosophy of well-rounded, broadly prepared, broadly qualified, preparation for a variety of careers, transferable skills, all those things that come and that are of value with a liberal arts education. So only about half-ish, maybe a little bit less, of the total credits that you will take, typically 120 for a bachelor's degree, are going to be in your major. You're going to have a 42 credit liberal studies, or what we call rock studies curriculum, that is going to make you very well-rounded, and it's going to prepare you to do a lot of things. Okay, so that being very important. Also, something that we are seeing that is very common: students coming to us with dual enrollment in Ohio College Credit Plus. We are very transfer friendly, or AP, IB. We are very transfer friendly. The border is insignificant when it comes to those things. I have worked with students from Ohio that have come in to us as first-year college students that have had 59 college credits transfer in. They were one short of being halfway home towards a bachelor's degree coming out of high school through dual enrollment. Okay, so is that always a good idea? Not necessarily, but nonetheless, just wanted to illustrate that we are very transfer friendly and that we are going to have a lot of different types of opportunities for you to earn credit. One, before you get here, and two, you may want to utilize your summers. And that is something that our 3+ students often do, because summers are not required in undergrad, even for accelerated programs. So if a student wants to go back home and take a general education or a liberal studies class at a local community college, you can do that as a transient student, and that will find its way back to us. We do have our transfer affiliations, our liberal studies conversion guides, or our transfer guides, with 3 affiliated schools in Ohio at the community college level: Eastern Gateway, Cuyahoga Community College, and Lakeland Community College. And you can find those on the transfer admissions page. But we, as I mentioned, we are also very transfer friendly from most 2- and 4-year institutions in the state of Ohio. Okay, get involved. 2 very important words, and also the very hard for the old guy to talk about. So this is where the young people need to come in, and I'm going to rely on their recent expertise. I can tell all of you exactly what it was like to be a student at Slippery Rock in the early 90s, and I'm sure you're dying to know, but we won't take up our time here. But we have a lot of student organizations. A lot of the reason for that is because we're in a town of 3,000. So we are in a wonderful learning environment here. The distractions are very limited. It encourages student involvement. And that is one of the things that we look at and talk to our students about, being prepared for leaving here with not just a degree, right, but with some experience and those skills that employers are looking for: communication, leadership, teamwork, working with diverse populations, critical thinking, be an active listener, all of those things that you have to be able to do in any type of career. This is where you build those skills. So I'm going to kick it over to Dal first. Dallas was, when she was here, she was very involved on campus as the Student Government Association president, also in the Honors College, and took advantage of a lot of these programs. So I'm going to send it over to Dallas and let her kind of explain her role, or what community involvement or getting involved was like for her, and how that has kind of benefited her coming forward as a professional.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so when you come to Slippery Rock, you have access to something called Core, where you can kind of see like a Facebook page for every single organization that we have. And like Mark said, there's over 160. So I was able to get involved with an organization for my major, the Sport Management Alliance. I was able to do student government because I had that interest in high school, coming out, being involved in student council, class president. I was able to do community service, something that was important to me, Relay for Life, raising money for people with cancer. And then also, most importantly, I really want to hone in on the Honors College. I was a graduate of the Honors College at Slippery Rock. It's open to a lot of different types of students, and you get to take classes that are smaller in size. You get to really dig into the material, and you get to knock out some of those liberal art credits that Mark was just talking about with honors courses. So it's not actually more work. It's actually just kind of, you have to do it anyway, so you might as well do it for the Honors College. But with the Honors College, they allow students to go to conferences, to network with other honors students throughout the PASHE system or throughout the country, actually. So they provide opportunities for you to do research. But what I really liked about the Honors College was the smaller trips. Like maybe we go to Pittsburgh for a day and we go to the Heinz History Museum, or we go on a boat tour. And there's always some learning involved with it, but they pay for absolutely everything. So I was even able to travel to Canada, to Montreal for 4 days for free with the Honors College. So there's plenty of opportunities there. I also was involved there, you see, under leadership, the Emerging Leadership Experience, which is freshman year. They throw first-year students into cohorts, and you learn about who you are as a leader, and that kind of helped me to grow throughout my 4 years as a student, and I still use those skills each and every day in my first job as an admissions counselor. So I'll pass it over to Sierra to talk more about the global engagement study abroad side.
Yep, so there's 2 types of opportunities. So you can go abroad for a little bit longer, so you can do a semester, a year, or a summer internship abroad, which is more of our study abroad programs. You can earn credit usually through that. We do some student teaching in Ireland. We've done it before in Mexico. But then there's another part of the program where you can do a faculty-led program. So if you were interested in going abroad, but maybe not on your own, you can go with a faculty member and with your classmates. So you are able to really take part, and it's an out-of-class experience so that you're studying something in the class, but then you're able to see it in real life. So a few years ago, we actually had for Parks and Rec and also recreational therapy, they went to Belize and they were able to go to a Mayan village. They were able to visit a baboon sanctuary, which was pretty exciting. They were able to take part in a healing ceremony. So it's a great experience for students, and there are study abroad scholarships as well. Usually the faculty-led programs take place during spring break, so you definitely want to have some spring break plans, but it is a lot cheaper to travel while you're still a student, and it looks great on your resume as well. So I'll kick it back over to Mark.
All right, very good. Thanks, guys. So nice to have folks that are recently, removed from being in this undergraduate experience. Also, Sierra, with her time working down in global engagement. One thing too that I want to mention is Greek life, and that's something that comes up a lot with students. You see there that with 18 organizations, Greek organizations, we have a wide variety of choices. But when you look at the percentage of the institution, I think that's the one that's most important. We're only about 8 to 10% Greek life. So that to me creates that nice balance of we have a lot of opportunities if that is something in which you have an interest. But if that is not something that you are interested in doing, you don't feel left out if you are not a part of that. So it's that balance between, yes, we have it and it's very robust if that's what you're into, but if that's not what you're into, you don't feel like, man, there's nothing else to do because I'm not a part of Greek life. That's not the way this works. So again, that comes back to the size of the institution with 7,500, almost 9,000 total. This is a college feel, right? It's a very traditional residential college feel. And we're going to talk a little bit more about our on-campus living as we go forward. But one of the things that you're going to hear from every university that you meet with and talk with is student success, right? The number one thing for colleges and universities all across everywhere is student success. How well do students perform at the institution? And what does the institution do to support those students and put them in a position to be successful? So one of the things that we started doing for our students is putting them in what we call a first seminar, FYRST. Now that is the Pennsylvania spelling of that word. As we know, people from Ohio spell that word with an I, but it stands for first year students, first year studies. So it's a 1 credit, what I call intro to college or college 101 class, where you're going to focus on things that are going to help you be successful: time management, note taking, exam preparation, campus resources. What is all here? What are all these things on this slide? And how do I get involved? How do I make connection with my success coach? How do I get involved in all of those things that Dallas and Sierra just talked about? The first seminar is going to kind of do that. They're going to send you on scavenger hunts and they're going to send you around campus so that we kind of speed up your acclimation or transition to this very residential college experience and college environment. So the first seminar is also typically part of a learning cluster or an LCC. So you usually have 6 classes as a first semester freshman. Typically a learning cluster is 3 of those classes that you have with the same group of students. And what you all have in common is that you've declared that same major coming in. Now, a lot of you will change your major. We understand that. But you had enough in common to declare that major at first. And those are some people that we want to find for you, right? So you have people that you are immediately have a connection with once you get here. And that's an important part of the acclimation process as well, right? Now, again, not being here feeling like you're out there on an island, out there on your own, no connections, not a part of anything. We eliminate all that stuff. So that's the benefit of the first seminar and the learning clusters, making those connections for you. As I mentioned before, you're never going to be taught a class by anything other than a faculty and advised by professional faculty members from the major that you have chosen. Tutoring is available for the majority of our beginning level subjects, and that tutoring is free. Also want to talk about work study opportunities, and one of the greatest jobs on campus, other than working for us in the admissions office, is to be a peer tutor, right? If you want to make a little bit of work study money, you take a liberal studies class, you receive an A or B in the class, you are eligible to be a paid tutor for that class going forward. So that is something that you will certainly want to look into. The tutoring center is located in the Bailey Library, right across from the Office of Career Education and Development, which we will touch on, okay? Our health center is open 24/7, and this is one of the things about tuition and fees, right? When you get to these colleges and universities and talk about these fees, what are these fees? Well, for us, one of those fees is the health center fee. When you go in there, there's no copay. You don't have to pay for treatment. You pay for that stuff in your fees, also your rec center membership and your tech and the printer paper, all of those things you've kind of paid already. And so it provides the happy buses, right? We'll talk a little bit more about happy buses and our shuttles that run across campus. So there's some really good benefits to being a college student of things that are already taken care of in that holistic cost of that total cost of attendance. Disability services accommodates about 600 to 700 students on our campus, students with IEPs, 504 plan, maybe hearing impaired or visually impaired students. Dr. Burek and Kim Kafaro put together wonderful programs for our students to put them in a position to be successful. And also our success coaches. These are the individuals who are kind of your go-between, or you're tied together between the academics and the co-curricular and the career, right? There's like 3 steps to this process. Certainly we are encouraging academic success, but also making sure that we have that balance of involvement and then doing our career education and development. We're doing our networking, and we're doing everything that our career coaches, of which we have 11, are going to discuss with you. So for first year students, it's, are we in the right major? Do we want to change majors, add a minor, add a second minor perhaps? All of that type of major and minor counseling is something that is very common in the Office of Career Education and Development for a first year student. Getting you on that career pathway, having that first year resume, creating that LinkedIn profile as a first year student, and also beginning to understand the importance of networking. All of the students on our campus know the phrase that you are either networking or you're not working. That comes from Dr. Rindy and all of his career coaches. They hammer that home with our students. It is about who you know. And more importantly than who you know is who knows you, okay? Do those individuals know who you are, what you're capable of doing? Do you have contact? Have you followed up? And are they waiting for you to finish so that they can offer you employment? And that's the type of messaging that our career coaches are sending to our students at every level. So for the students that get to that upper division, juniors and seniors, they are going to have job and internship fairs and career fairs on our campus, typically in our Smith, one of our great facilities, Smith Center, theater or ballroom, depending on the size and the scope of the event. But they're really going to practice with you on your interview tips and techniques, mock interviews. I think this is one of the most important things, because it, just as in anything else that you do, if you're a basketball player, you want to be a better foul shooter. You're a golfer, you want to be a better putter. You practice. If you want to become a better interviewer, you practice, and that's what they do. So career coaches spend time with our students, working on these interview tips and techniques, understanding what is going to be coming your way in terms of questions. What is the second to last question of every interview? Why should we hire you over the other X number of people that we've interviewed? Preparing yourself for the last question of every interview, and that is, do you have any questions for us? Understanding, doing your research, and going in there with some very thoughtful questions to ask that interviewer to explain to you. That shows your preparedness, it shows your level of interest, and it shows that you can separate yourself from the other candidates, okay? Etiquette dinners also, obviously knowing how to conduct yourself over a business interview if it happens to be over a meal or a dining situation. JCPenney comes in and helps our students get clothing at a discounted rate. I think that's huge. And then Handshake is kind of the software platform that we use. And I think it's 12 out of the 14 state system schools now that are using Handshake as a way for employers to connect with our students, whether it be for internships or job opportunities. It's an easy way for them to connect to Slippery Rock University students. So we happen to be named colleges of distinction for career development, but more importantly, named the public university in Pennsylvania that will most likely get you a job, right? And so there's all these recent awards for the Office of Career Education and Development, just by the sheer resources that we've put that way. 11 career coaches gives them the ability to connect with our students, prospective students, current students, and very importantly, alumni. You will most likely change jobs or careers multiple times in your professional life. When I left Slippery Rock in 1995 until I came back in 2004, I had 9 jobs in 9 years. Okay, so it is likely that you will change jobs and career paths. And career path, indeed, it was for me. None of the things that I did in those years had anything to do with what I do now. So are you broadly qualified? Do you have those transferable skills? And can our career office kind of massage that resume into a summary of qualifications, showing that you are marketable for this change of career path. So always having the ability as a Slippery Rock alum to come back and use the Office of Career Education and Development. And obviously now through the use of technology, you don't have to be able to physically come back. We have people working all over the country, all over the world, and they still have the opportunity to tap into the services and the expertise of the career coaches in the Office of Career Education and Development. So very, very important office here. If you guys are on Twitter, you see the office Twitter down there at SRU Career, and the director of the office, Dr. John Rindy, his Twitter handle at Bald Career Guy. He is a professor of career education and development. He's into the data, he's into the research, and they're doing some really cool life design things with our students, cutting edge stuff, and really going to give our students an advantage. Okay, housing, obviously a very important part of this as well. So again, as I mentioned, we are very traditional residential. About 95% of our incoming first-year students live in the halls. As you see there, about 1,500. A typical first-year class for us, 1,570, maybe 1,575. And 1,500 of those students are typically going to live in the residence halls. So what we offer are two different styles of residence halls: suite-style residence halls and two traditional buildings. So 6 buildings in the residential suites account for about 2,200 beds. And then in the traditional halls, we have about 500 beds, with about 300 of those beds going to first-year students. And those beds do fill up first. And that is a conversation that I always have with out-of-state students, because that is what affects the total cost. And you will see that when we get to that cost slide. So you are permitted to have your car. I know that's something that is very common for students. They want to take a vehicle. Now, by no means do you need a vehicle. You will not live in a dormitory and drive to class. Our campus is not set up that way, and hopefully you will see that and get that feel if you have the opportunity to come and physically visit campus with us. But it is nice to have it, right? A lot of our students work at the Grove City Outlet Mall, which is 10 minutes from here. The city of Pittsburgh, 45 to 50 minutes from here. So if you want to have your car to do those types of activities, it's great to have it here, and it's only $25 for the year for the parking pass. But we also provide shuttles by the Student Government Association. Again, we call them happy buses. So there's a loop that runs on campus and 2 off-campus loops, because as you can see here, we are just shy of 2,800 beds on campus, but we have 7,500 undergraduate students. So more than half of our undergrads live off campus, whether they be in apartment complexes or houses or apartments in houses or above businesses in the town. We have a lot of different off-campus housing opportunities for students that still do not require a vehicle because of their proximity to campus being very walkable, or they're right on a happy bus trail or a stop for the happy bus. Students can ride the shuttle easily to get to and from campus back to their residence and vice versa. So something to think about, but it is very nice, a very nice service set up by the Student Government Association. A big part of their budget goes to providing happy bus transportation to our students. Okay, so you have to live on campus for 1 year. You can move off campus after year 1. I did that. I moved off campus after my first year, lived about a block and a half from campus, and never had a vehicle. So for me, it was about a 15-minute walk from off campus and all the way across until the far end. So it is set up to be a very walkable, traditional residential college feel. All right. So when you get to the housing, they're going to ask you 3 main questions. 1, suite style or traditional. What style of housing am I looking for? The main difference between the styles of halls is the suite style housing has a bathroom facility in every room. So you will typically share with one other individual, where the traditional have the communal bathrooms with typically 20 to 25 students sharing the bathroom facilities. Now, in the suites, you have to clean your own. In traditional, they're cleaned for you, which for me is very important, because I'd much rather have it cleaned for me twice a day, every day, than what I would do it on my own. But that is a personal thing that you guys have to consider when you're looking at housing. Okay, the second question, am I interested in a living learning community? And what is a living learning community? Well, it's an opportunity for students to live with, around people that have like interests. So whether they be academic interests, as you see, as illustrated by the 4 colleges that we mentioned earlier, also the Honors College, Rock Connections, Rock Life. You can research these living learning communities and decide, is this for me? You have to apply to be considered for the living learning community and write a brief statement as to why you feel that it is a benefit to you to live in a living learning community. And typically students are given the opportunity to live with and around people that have those like-minded interests. And then the third question, do you have a roommate request? So you can request someone to be your roommate. If you do not make a roommate request, you'll be given the link to My College Roomie. It's the little icon you see up in the top left. And you will have the opportunity to go on there and enter some information and maybe find somebody that seems that they would be compatible as a roommate, and then you could request them to be your roommate. Okay, so a couple different ways to locate that, or you can just say, hey, I want to apply for the LLC, but I'm not going to pick a roommate. I'm just going to take whoever they give me. That is certainly an option as well. Okay, so 3 main questions of housing: style of housing, LLC or no, and do you have a roommate request? And so when you look at the total cost, so for out-of-state students, we are focusing on the middle column and the last column. So the middle column where it says out-of-state with a 3.0 GPA, that is what we call our out-of-state tuition reduction or tuition discount. Meaning, if you graduate from high school on your final high school transcript, 8-semester cumulative GPA, do you have a 3.0 or higher? If you do, you receive that reduction from the third column back to the second, and that is the equivalent of 50% of the in-state cost. So the in-state tuition is $7,716. So the amount of the reduction is half of that, and that's the way it is. So out-of-state students with a 3.0 pay 150% of the in-state tuition, whereas students below a 3.0 pay double. So if you look at the room and board costs, they are the same. And then at the bottom, the totals are only the housing. That's the only difference. Tuition, fees, meal plans are always the same. It's just the style of room. So there are many styles of rooms in the suite style, but that number is based on a double studio. And that's what we want the incoming first-year students to expect, right? 47% of all of the beds in the suites are double studios. So we want you to expect to have that as a first-year student. Are there other models that you could end up in? Absolutely. But if you expect to have the double studio, and that's where that number comes from. Also, you are assigned a meal plan, as you see on the bottom, 12 meals a week, 445 flex. That is the one that I would recommend. You have the opportunity to change your meal plan once the semester begins, but that would be my recommendation on a meal plan. And also keep in mind, and ask this question as you continue to talk to other colleges, are they billing per credit? Our tuition is a flat rate. If you take 12 credits or you take 18 credits, you are billed at a full-time rate, and it doesn't change. So it's not per credit billing. Full-time is full-time, anywhere between 12 and 18 credits. But what I would like to turn your attention to this bottom number, the total in the traditional hall is 21,672. And then over here to the in-state, in the suites, 20,952. If you are able or willing to do a traditional hall for 1 year, you come within about $700 of an in-state student. So you control what you can control. So if you want to negate that out-of-state surcharge, you can do it through housing. Now, also we can do it through scholarship, which we'll talk about, but you control where you live. As long as you are early in the process, you would have the opportunity to get one of those beds in traditional housing and save yourself a considerable amount and put you much more in the range of an in-state student. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind as we go through. So talking about financial aid and scholarships, this is something that is going to change this year. And this is the big change, the big news of everything I'm going to tell you that's different. Slippery Rock University is now test optional. Okay, this is the first year for us to be test optional. So the only thing that we review is the holistic review of the transcript. It's about GPA and the transcript, the classes that you take and your performance. Okay, ACT, SAT, not required, do not help you. The only thing that we could use those for is placement into certain mathematics courses for certain majors. Okay, so it's going to be based on that holistic review. We will know more coming up in the next couple weeks. So please stay tuned to get these out-of-state scholarships. This is going to change. Okay. Also, there is an additional first-year freshman scholarship application that will begin on October 1st. And then the Honors College, they will also set their criteria for their scholarships. But just remember that all of these merit-based scholarships, which you only have to apply to the university to be considered, and then the additional scholarships, which requires a separate application, and the honors college, which requires a separate application. But all of these scholarships are stackable. So if you receive a merit and an honors and an additional donor scholarship, you can stack all of those scholarships. Okay, so that's important. But we are going to solidify and make some final decisions on the amounts and, more importantly, the criteria for what is it going to take to be eligible in this first year of not having standardized test scores as a data point for scholarship decisions. Okay, so stay tuned to the scholarship page, and also remind me to talk to you about some of the other visit opportunities that we have that allow you to kind of drill down a little bit deeper. So applying to Slippery Rock is very simple. Application, $30 app fee, send us the transcript, okay? If you are a 3.25 or higher cumulative GPA after grade 11, you'll be automatically offered admission, and we will have an acceptance packet to you within 7 to 10 days. Okay, next steps. Once you are offered admission, the process to accept the offer of admission would be to send the $90 enrollment deposit. That guarantees you a spot in the class, and it triggers your next steps, which is housing and orientation. If orientation goes back to normal in the spring, we will have 3 Saturdays in the spring, 4 in the summer. If it stays as it was this year, those will be virtual in nature, and they will typically happen in June, okay? Remember, on October 1st, 2 very big things. 1, file your FAFSA, fafsa.gov, and then also our first year application that is on our scholarships page found on the Financial Aid website. Okay, again, as I mentioned, our goal tonight, provide you enough information that makes you want to continue, take more steps, drill down further, maybe talk with an independent or with a major or something specific, an athletic coach, some type of co-curricular. Talk to Global because study abroad is important. Talk to the Honors College because you definitely want to do that. But what we would really like for you to do is schedule a visit. So if you go onto our website and you click on the visit tab, it's going to give you the opportunities that we have now for in-person visits. We are doing 2 presentations and tours on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And we also have some virtual open houses, one of them coming up this Saturday on the 19th. You can register for those. It gives you the opportunity to spend some time with faculty. We will also start the day with a pre-professional session. So if you are interested in one of those graduate programs that we mentioned earlier, you can do that at the beginning of the day. Go into a virtual room with a professor, a small group setting, to talk about the very specifics of our academic programs and the outcomes of those programs and the co-curricular opportunities within those. So those are some of the things that we do at our virtual open houses. But you can also supplement that by coming to campus, taking an in-person tour, getting to see everything that we have to offer, and more importantly, getting a feel for the fit of Slippery Rock University to see if it's the right distance from home, and if this medium-sized public university makes you feel like this is a place where you can be successful. So certainly thank you for joining us. I'm going to kick it over to Dallas and Sierra now to see if we're getting any questions in the Q&A, anything that we want to talk about, anything that we want to mention, or any closing remarks that they have before we kick it back over and have some closing remarks from OACAC.
Thanks for listening, everybody. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Please know that I traveled from 5 hours away to go to Slippery Rock. I ended up returning for grad school, and then I ended up returning to work. That's how much I love this place. It's a very special place to me. So I've been through many different parts. If you have questions, we'd love to share our contact information.
Yes, and thank you for attending. We always have a counselor on asktherock@sru.edu. So if you do have any questions, that's the best way to reach us right now. We are on an office rotation. There is someone checking voicemails, but in case you would like to reach someone right away, then Ask the Rock is the best way, in case you think of anything after this presentation. But thank you so much for attending.
Thank you very much, guys. We'll kick it back over. I'm going to stop my share here, and we'll kick it back over to OACAC, and they're going to have some closing remarks for you guys. And best of luck to you guys in your college search, and thanks so much for tuning in.
Alrighty, thank you for joining us. I'm having a little bit of trouble with my screen share. It is kind of lagging on me. So I'm going to just stop sharing and say thank you for attending this with us. OACAC thanks you. Once you close out of the window, you'll get a short 4-question survey. You'll also be able to see a recording of this presentation within a week at oacac.org. And then you can also sign up for more sessions at oacac.org. We really appreciate your participation and hope that you'll reach out to Slippery Rock. Thank you.